who were scared. One of the things we believe is that adults should tell the truth about themselves, and they should go first rather than interrogating their children. They need to tell so the children will feel safe to tell also. And they got to never, never, never tell a child don't feel bad or don't feel scared or don't feel sad. Because the truth is, I think we're all feeling sad, we're all feeling bad, we're all feeling scared, and we're all feeling a little angry. And all of these feelings are valid and should be heard, not fixed. We don't fix feelings, we listen to them and acknowledge how truthful they are. And then we can go on with the next moment in our life.
Grief counselor Russell Friedman, thank you very much.
And as we watch Senator Hillary Clinton shake the hands of so many firefighters in New York, I have to remark that what's so difficult about this story for so many people is the idea of saying goodbye, as many people saying goodbye to Father Judge today in New York City. Several of the victims of Tuesday's terror were able to actually make goodbye calls to their loved ones, and our Thelma Gutierrez was able to talk with a few of the families who are on the receiving end of these painful yet very appreciated farewells.
September 11th, American Airlines Flight 11 crashes into the North Tower. Jill Gartenberg's husband is inside.
He called my office. I got to my office probably 2 minutes after he left his first message on my machine saying there was a fire in his building on his floor. He didn't know if he was going to make it.
18 minutes later, United Flight 175 slams into the South Tower. Lori Van Auken's husband, Kenneth, makes a final call home.
It was just horrible. It was really just horrible. I could hear the terror in his voice, and he was trying to sound like he was calm for us, but you could hear the chaos in the background and the terror in his voice.
I hope I live.
Some 30 minutes later, somewhere above the Pentagon on American Airlines Flight 77, Barbara Olson calls her husband Ted and tells him hijackers have taken over.
She told me that she had been herded to the back of the plane. She mentioned that they had used knives and box cutters to hijack the plane. I had to tell her about the 2 airplanes that had hit the World Trade Center.
Why?
I just felt that I had to.
On United Flight 93 over Pennsylvania, Thomas Burnett calls his wife.
And he said that somebody was already dead, that they had stabbed somebody, and that they were all going to die, and that they were going to try to do something.
Mark Bingham calls his mother in the midst of chaos.
He said, I just want to let you know that I love you all. There are 3 men on board who have taken over the aircraft, and they say they have a bomb. And at that point, we were cut off. He wasn't able to say anything else.
Moments later, the plane went down, and families forever lost their chance to talk with one another.
Some family members will take comfort in the fact that they were able to say their goodbyes, that they were able to express certain feelings that they have, such as I love you.
Annalisa Van Kirk is a medical social worker who deals with trauma.
That they were able to communicate with the people in their lives that were important to them, and that we can take comfort from.
One of the last things Melissa Hughes did on September 11th is call her husband Sean.
Sean, it's me. I just wanted to let you know I love you, and I'm stuck in this building in New York. A plane hit the building or a bomb went off, we don't know, but there's lots of smoke, and we just wanted you to know that I love you always.
Thelma Gutierrez, CNN, Los Angeles.
Good afternoon. I'm Aaron Brown in New York. On this day when New York starts to bury its dead and the rescue workers begin or continue on this long, difficult work of sifting through and clearing out what was the World Trade Center buildings here in New York. Funerals now going on funerals for Michael Judge, the chaplain, funerals for fire chief out on Long Island who died the other day as well. And of course around the city and in other cities too, funerals going on for people without titles, without position, people who died on Tuesday. They are not the funerals that will get the attention or the coverage, but their deaths are no less significant than those that do. I'm Aaron Brown. As we say, we're joined now by Judy Woodruff in Washington and Darren Kagan in Atlanta as we take you through the afternoon here of this longest week. It's hard to believe that it's only Saturday. Here are the latest developments in the story at this hour. President Bush has again described this all as an act of war. President meeting with his national security team today. He said, "We are at war and we will smoke out the terrorists," said the president. He says that Osama bin Laden is the prime suspect in Tuesday's attack. This is a line the administration has said. This is one of the first times we've seen, by the way, the vice president since Tuesday. It is possible we've seen him before. I don't recall it, however, this meeting taking place a short time ago. As we say today, also, the funerals are now beginning. They are beginning here in New York and elsewhere. Funerals for fire chiefs and fire chaplains, funerals for firemen, funerals for passengers on airplanes and office workers in buildings. These are long and painful goodbyes. And we are beginning also now to get a sense of the economic dimension of all of this. Continental Airlines said today that it will furlough 12,000 employees. They'll go off the payroll. The airlines obviously have been hammered in this. They have not been able to fly for a week. It's not clear when they'll be at full strength again, when airports are functioning fully, when passengers feel comfortable buying tickets and going to the gates and getting on those planes. The Congress is moving to offer economic assistance to the airlines, more than $2 billion worth. But for now, Continental will put 12,000 employees on furlough as it tries to recover economically from the disaster that hit on Tuesday. Those are the headlines. And now we begin putting a little more meat on all of it. We begin by going to the Pentagon and CNN's Bob Frank. And Bob, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Aaron, and we're going to be able to give you some idea of the devastation that occurred at the Pentagon. The Pentagon, the military, has provided some video. It shot over and inside the area that was damaged. First, you see the aerial shots. You can see shots that we've not been able to see for a while because, of course, airspace has been severely limited here. Aerial shots to show just how extensive it was when 3 of the corridors of the Pentagon were badly damaged when the American Airlines plane crashed into it on Tuesday. Now, of course, inside is where it is really stark. You see just an absolute chaos, and this is the video shot 3 days after the collision actually occurred, 3 days in which a huge amount had been done. The video shot yesterday. We're slowly making our way into the building. You can see holes that were created not by the plane, but oftentimes like this one, holes that were punched out by the people who are trying to get inside. And you can see the massive damage to the building. Damage, by the way, which might have been worse except for the fact that this section had just been renovated and it was really strongly reinforced with glass, for instance. It was very blast resistant. So it prevented quite a bit of the tragedy that might have occurred. As it is, they're already estimating that about 189 people will have died in this. You will see just how difficult it would have been for rescue workers and the people who are trying to effect repairs to get inside the building, and you can see overhead just how widespread the damage was. Now, this is a massive building with about 17.5 miles of corridor. Among those picking their way inside the building for the military were members of an honor guard here, the ones you normally see at Arlington Cemetery in spit and polish, but this time they were doing anything but their ceremonial duties.
Got soldiers from the 3rd U.S. Infantry, the honor guard, are in there. And this is the conditions they have to work in. The Tyvek suits, the respirators, goggles, and helmets. And they also have boots on.
Terry Mitchell, who is a Pentagon spokesman, showing what was going on. And while the repair to this building was taking place, at the very same time, the full operation of its primary mission was being restored. The planning is going on now for whatever military action is being taken in this virtual war that has been declared on the United States, according to the administration. And of course, phase number one has been the authorization for a call-up of the reserves. Reserves that authorized 50,000 to be called up, although of course there are about 1,300,000 reservists in the United States military force, about half of the entire armed forces of the United States. 50,000 authorized, 35,000 will be called out, spread out not just among the traditional Defense Department forces, but also the Coast Guard, which comes under the Transportation Department. The individual units that are affected have not been announced, are probably still being developed. In fact, individuals themselves are still being put into the proper slots. We can expect that information to come out in the next few days. It is a very, very slow process to get ready for whatever military action is taken in response to this calamity that has hit the United States. And of course, a very slow process, Aaron, to build a building. It's going to take several $100 million and probably, we're told, a couple of years. Aaron?
Let's talk about what's going on in those parts of the building that's not being damaged. People are coming to work still. Offices are open. Business, certainly not as usual, but business is getting done. Because this is the business of the military here.
This is the business of the military, and of course the irony is that the military right now has the primary business here. The administration has made that very clear, to try and come up with the retaliation that the United States plans to put into effect. A very, very relentless retaliation, they're saying. As for people coming to work, a large part of this building, probably about a third of it, is a little bit damaged or is still questionable. There may be structural damage that could be questionable, but all staff people are asked to come to work and they can be reassigned offices. You know, of course, this is the world's largest office building.
You know, you've been there for a couple days, and this is my first best look at all of this. But when you looked at these new pictures, and in a sense, there's a term of art in television that you got the wide shot here. Were you surprised at how broad the damage was?
Well, you know, actually it reinforces what rescue officials have been telling us for a couple of days, that they were just going through terrible debris, that it took sometimes tremendous effort just to set the stuff apart and to get in the lifts and all the backhoes and that type of thing they needed to do that. And they also had to face the fear of a collapse. As reinforced as this particular section was, there was always this constant concern of a collapse. And one of the scenes that we showed a little while ago is one that shows all the wood beams that have been put up to support this so they could move on to the next area and put up more wood beams, that type of thing. It is a very tedious process, as you might understand, and a sad one, because wherever they go, they find more bodies. They still haven't given us, by the way, an estimate of the number of bodies, the actual number, by the way. They've just told us that they're estimating now about 190.
And when they talk about 190, 189, that includes the people who were at the Pentagon, actually at work at the Pentagon, and the people who were on the airplane that hit the Pentagon, correct?
That's correct. What they've done, they've combined the passengers, the number of passengers on the airplane, and the people who are unaccounted for, and that's how they've come up with their estimate.
One other, or two other perhaps quick things. You've been around that building over the years a fair amount. Is security just indescribable at this point?
It's heavy. It's very heavy. You better not be caught walking without your pass in this building right now, because somebody will stop you and, as a matter of fact, could place you under arrest. Wherever you turn, there are people in body armor carrying AK-47s, that type of thing. Obviously, this is a building that always has heavy security, but it's visibly much more extensive now.
Bob, thanks. That is, you see that overhead shot that we saw, the flyover for the first time. It is quite chilling. You get a sense of the magnitude of the hit on the Pentagon. That is something. Thank you, Bob Franken at the Pentagon, for us this afternoon. As you see, too, for the first time, just it almost goes, as we see it, at least here, the damage goes through those concentric, that series of concentric lines that are offices in the Pentagon. It doesn't just take out the first layer, but you can see damage going in the inner circles. I understand they're not circles, but those inner lines of office space going straight through. and you get a sense of why they're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars to repair it. It is, after yesterday's dreary Friday here in New York, the sun's out today, and as we were coming in, we got home for the first time yesterday, in fact, life was coming back a little bit to normal. Traffic was starting to build in parts of the west side of New York where this tragedy essentially places